Creativity in the Age of COVID with Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper. It's the only program in which therapy and entertainment come together to show everyone not only how to cope in the age of COVID, but how to be creatively productive through it all. And now, Dr. Judi Blume and Richard Skipper.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
We made it! We made it through this year.
Yeah,
Hello, Dr. Judi Blume. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm celebrating. I have to celebrate.
Yeah.
I love New Year's Eve because for me, it's that bridge between the past and the future. And I always look forward to it. I set my intentions for the new year. And I always go into the new year with a lot of anticipation. Being an entertainer, there have been a few times where I had to perform on New Year's Eve, which was something that I never really liked doing, to be honest with you, as much as I love to perform. And my husband, Dan, and I, we've been together going on now 31 years as we go into the new year.
All right.
And this will be the first time in 31 years that it's just the two of us on New Year's Eve, because normally we have a big party here. I'd be busy cooking and prepping for that and everything. How were your New Year's Eves in the past, and how is it very different this year?
Traditionally, my New Year's Eve is varied between doing absolutely nothing, like Tom and I'll just stay home and watch television, because we don't want to be out there with all the drunk drivers, to going out with my son, who is in the club industry, right? And going to a hell of a New Year's Eve party and the rockinest club in Miami. And then 2 years ago, we went to Puff Daddy's New Year's Eve celebration afterwards and went over on a yacht over to Star Island. To the mansion. It was unbelievable. Just truly unbelievable. Way over the top. So, it could be anything. This year, I'm going to try to stay awake till midnight.
Well, I'm looking forward to the new year with anticipation. I'm glad that we have the vaccine on the horizon, even if it is going a little slower than we had hoped at this point. But I think that it's the cockeyed optimist in me that I'm always looking forward to what the future holds for all of us. And I think of it as a time of possibility, change. It is possible that we can say, I no longer want that in my life and get rid of it. Or we can say, I do want this in my life and work towards those goals. I set my intentions. I've got them on my desk, and I will open the frame just before midnight, and I will throw this into the fireplace, and I will replace it with my new intentions for the new year. And that's part of my yearly routine for years.
And how did you do on last year's intentions?
I achieved every one of them.
All right. Are you going to share with us what your intentions were?
Yeah. I wanted to start my podcast. I did not realize that I would be doing a live stream because none of us knew that this was going to go the direction that it's gone.
Right.
And it was really to eliminate the negativity in my life. Those that I didn't feel that supported me on some level, either in a positive way of looking at life or whatever. And I will say that I pretty much have been isolated since March. But I find that for the most part, I feel more connected with the people in my life now than I feel that I've ever felt connected to them. Terrific.
I think that's really heartwarming and lovely that you found a way to connect, via electronics, right? via technology in a way that's even more impactful than live. That's amazing.
Well, as I've said to you before, so many people I've heard say this year, I can't wait to get my life back. I can't wait till things were the way they were. I can't wait until we're normal again. And I say to them, this is it. This is right now. We hope that we will be able to get back to what we had before, but hoping and living through it are two separate things.
Absolutely.
So we have to get through it. But I am very excited about today's show. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 women who mean a lot in my life. And the first that I'm going to be bringing on is a friend of mine that I think we worked together 150 years ago. And we somehow have lost touch with each other, except through social media, especially through LinkedIn and everything. Beth Lane, who you now see on the screen. And she also has her own podcast live stream series, which we're going to talk about, called Babbling with Beth, or am I right, Beth? Am I close?
Banter, but I like the babbling. The babbling is like, I love that. That's adorable.
No, I went there because I have a friend who has a show called Backstage Babble, and that's what was stuck in my brain for a moment.
Right. Sure.
So how are you, Beth? Really?
I'm great. I mean, all things considered, with how bizarre and strange this year has been on so many levels, I'm really doing great. I feel very fortunate that I, live in a space that is beautiful and comforting and has, I'm not in New York City anymore. We defected to the West Coast about, 13 years ago, which is probably why we fell out of touch. And thank goodness for social media. And so, my kids, I have two that live in LA. One lives in Denver, and he drove in for Thanksgiving and stayed for a month. So I do feel very lucky, and I've been able to work through the entire pandemic. So that's been a saving grace, even though hasn't been great for my waistline, but but I've been working like a maniac on the film that I'm creating right now called Would You Hide Me? And that's been a godsend to be able to work during, something like this, and from home in particular.
Now, I'm fascinated by this film, and I was watching some of the clips this morning. I unfortunately was not able to convert them to the MP4s to share here, but I will let everyone know that you do have a YouTube channel.
Thank you.
You can go there and check it out. But if you can tell everyone a little bit about the film and how during a pandemic that you've been able to move forward on your creativity.
Sure. The film is about 7 Jewish siblings who were hidden for 2 years outside of Berlin during World War II. And it's a very personal story. It's a passion project of mine. My mother was the youngest of the 7 siblings who survived. And so it's a story that I've always known about, since I was, maybe 6 years old, which is actually the age that she was when she emigrated to America. But my mother was never someone who wore her heart on her sleeve. She was a dancer, so she danced it. But she is not a person who is effusively emotional or carries baggage around of any kind. She is just one of these, okay, take it on and move forward. Like, look to the future. So she's remarkable in that way because she's had quite a storied life for all different kinds of reasons, not the least of which was surviving the Holocaust. Yeah. So the story is something that I've wrestled with as an actor, trying to write a piece. I've tried to write solo pieces. I've tried to, I've taken my pen to having a more expanded, like 7-person cast and things like that. But it always kind of felt, self-serving. It felt, like therapy for me, as opposed to giving an offering to an audience about why they might want to hear this story. And something happened in the summer of 2017 that made me realize that if I didn't tell the story, nobody would, and it had to be told. And what had happened is my mother decided she wanted to go back to Germany for the first time in over 70 years. So she and my father and my sister and I went to Berlin. We toured Berlin and saw all the different locations where she was born and had lived. And it was just this mind-boggling kind of history tour to see, where was she born? Where was she a little girl? And how did they even survive in Berlin? And then we went out to the town of Worin, which is 60 kilometers east of Berlin. We were hosted by the town historians who knew the story. And not only did they know the story, but they were quite integral in helping my mother and my mom's older brother make an application to Yad Vashem, which is the World Holocaust Memorial Center in Jerusalem, in Israel, to give the commendation of righteous among the nations to the farmers who hid my mother and her siblings. And the farmers were a couple named Paula and Arthur Schmidt, simple greengrocer farmers who lived in the country. They stored their fruit crates in the basement of my mother's building where they lived in Berlin. And that's how they knew each other. They knew my mom's biological mother, I think, the best because she was the janitress of the building. But mom's mother did not make it. Mom's mother, her name was Lena Bonda Weber, and she would secure passports and visas for other people to get out of Germany. So she was working with the resistance. She was working with the underground. She was picked up. I guess she had been picked up several times over the years, but ultimately she was arrested, deported to Auschwitz, and murdered on December 1st, 1943. Somewhere in there, and we're trying to figure out the timeline, my mom's father was able to arrange with Farmer Schmidt to take all the kids out to the farm. And that's where they were for 2 years. And then, of course, they eventually had to get out of Germany even after liberation, which was no easy feat. So the film is really me taking my uncle's 40-page document that he wrote for our family's 50th anniversary of their emigrating to America, all the locations. And it's me with a camera crew going around Germany, finding these locations and just trying to feel the souls of the experience of what they all went through. And it was a staggeringly meaningful trip in that I kept coming across curious accidents that were revealing that they were there. It was wild. It was just, I mean, you go as a documentary filmmaker hoping for maybe one thing. But I mean, even our first day of shooting, we had 12 locations and things just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. And that's how the whole 3 weeks was. So that's the film in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it and a lot more filming. But in terms of your question about COVID and how I created, I was very fortunate in that all of our principal photography was finished before quarantine. And even though I had designs to possibly film some more once we had a rough cut to see where the holes were, that was quickly kiboshed and we just stuck to our plan of editing. I would say the trickiest part for sure has been fundraising for the film. That has been very, very difficult.
At a time where everybody's struggling for money at this same time.
Well, people needing food and shelter, and then of course, Black Lives Matter, people truly having something happen that must have the nation's attention. And then of course we had the election. So no matter which side you're on, you are either engaged or you weren't. There really wasn't much middle ground, I think, this year for a lot
that's
of people.
true. Well, before we bring on our next guest, and I don't want to shut you down, but I want to get everyone on. And Judi, do you have any comments or anything before I bring on our next guest?
Yes, that the story you're relating is so similar to all the people who I know who have parents or grandparents who were involved in the Holocaust. Including my own mother, who grew up in Berlin and was sheltered by a Christian family, she and her sister. He was the superintendent of schools for the city of Berlin, and was in touch with their parents who had gotten them out of Russia. I mean, it was this whole thing, but it just, all those people, I think, just came into life here when they made it to the United States with just this can-do attitude. Nothing's going to stop me. Absolutely nothing is going to stop me. And a very realistic, as you were saying, my mother always said that I'm not an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. And it really,
my mother says too. It's like they said exactly the same thing. That's
exactly. It really encompasses that whole generation of survivors.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
An inspiration for all of us going through this.
Absolutely.
This is nothing.
I'm thinking, nothing that we're going through.
Right.
Right. It's true.
And we're going to get back to your story in a few moments, Beth, but I'd like to bring on our next guest. Tess La Bella, as I've said all along, has been part of every single show that we've done. That's her voice that you hear at the beginning of this. And she is a light I mean, a true light. And she's actually gone into the world of animation since COVID hit. And I'm going to share one of her characters, and then you'll meet Tess La Bella on the other side.
I am just so excited and overwhelmed and honored to be considered one of the 100 sexiest women in the world. And in the words of Sophia Loren, everything you see here, I owe to spaghetti. Thank you all.
God, do I love you. Everybody, Tess La Bella.
Hi, everybody.
Tess, tell us how this character came about and how you started creating her.
Well, this is actually a funny story. I want so badly, but by the way, before I talk about myself, I have to do this, Richard. I hope you don't think I'm being rude. Beth, your story was so inspiring that it brought tears to my eyes. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I wish you every success in your film, because these stories need to be told.
Absolutely. Amen.
And it touched my heart so that I didn't want to miss the opportunity to say that to you.
That's so kind of you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I had to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aunt Marion. So I want so badly to be the voice of an animated feature that when this whole COVID thing hit, I kind of went into like a little temper tantrum. I said, I'm 61 years old. What am I going to be, 80? I was getting so dramatic. I'm going to be 80 before this ever happens. And one morning I was having coffee and I just got up and I took a piece of paper and a pencil and I drew Aunt Marion. Now, this is a real person, by the way, that I am torturing and making fun of. It's in our family, so I figured, what the heck? She lived in New Jersey, and she was one of the sweetest, kindest ladies in our family. She was a supporter of everyone, dogs, kids, people, church, libraries, school systems. She was just a lovely human being, but she gave you the advice that you didn't know she needed. She wasn't a busybody, but she was extremely direct and just told it like it was. And then we lived in a senior community for a time when Freddie and I first got married. And there was a woman that reminded me of her that had that voice. And I used to imitate it and tell her that I was doing it. I said, oh, I love your voice. Someday I'm going to make you famous. And she'd say to me, well, how do I sound? And I'd say, you sound like this. And you're always talking bad about your husband, which I really quite frankly find offensive. But if you don't mind, I'm going to use your voice. So she laughed like crazy. And she says, does that really sound like me? And I said, put yourself on tape and you'll hear it. So she came down the next morning. She says, I should be really mad at you. She said, I never realized how obnoxious my voice was until I listened to it. I said, listen, I find it endearing and you're endearing and I love you. And I'm going to use that voice when I do Aunt Marion. So that's Aunt Marion.
Well, I mean, Tess, throughout this pandemic, I mean, you've kept me smiling. You've kept me laughing.
Thank you.
You are a doting daughter. I hear about your mom. You're a doting grandmother. And how are you doing really in the midst of everything that we're going through? And you're also down in Florida.
Yes, I'm in Southern Florida. And this is actually what makes me put my smile on. Everyone said that during this time they learned something really deep about themselves. And you mentioned my mom, and I haven't talked about it, but I feel like I can talk about it now. During this time, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And I remember when we heard it and we were sitting in the office and I actually felt like I was going to black out. Here she is sitting very still. Oh, I have breast cancer. Okay. And where is it? And me, I am like, I was paralyzed. Like even hearing the word I kept repeating it in my head going, wait, what did they just say? So we got in the car. My mother is 84 this January, God bless her, 30th. And she says to me, listen to me, honey. These are the things that happen in life. And if there's anything you're going to learn from this, is that you learn to let your faith be bigger than your fear. And that was it. It was the way she said it, the way she grabbed my face when she said it. And she said, you're going to have to face things in your life coming forward that you don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to learn to have courage and sensibility. But most important, you have to really dig for that faith and that courage. And out of everything I've done, I think that what drove me harder was listening to those words of her saying that. And she's done with her treatment and went through it with such dignity and I did all that Aunt Marion, and she would be laughing and I'd say, Ma, was that funny? Ma, was that funny? Did you think that was funny, Ma? So it was, I don't know, it was the motor or the engine that really drove Aunt Marion to be funnier and funnier, or to be relatable even.
That's great. And God bless your mom.
Thank you. Thank you. She's incredible. Incredible woman. And then Jim, my grandchildren, I have 6 of them. I love them all dearly. I hope I get to be the Nonny, back again to see all of them. And I'd also be remiss in mentioning that I have 2 books. One with a dear friend of mine who's a co-author named Petrel Marie Osby, dear to my heart. We wrote Merry Witchmas together, Merry Witchmas. And Boyd's Mills.
I love this story.
Boyd's Mills and Kane took the worldwide rights to it. So that's supposed to come out 2021. And a little shout out to her daughter, Raina, who's going to be singing at the Orange Bowl for the 2nd time, the national anthem, her little daughter, Raina. And then a woman by the name of Ada Gartenman, through a mutual friend, Diana Norris, asked me to be on her advisory board for the She Inspires Me and SEMA Academy. This is out of London. And these are stories that of hope and resilience and inspiration during the lockdown. And 47 authors came together under this woman's vision. Ada, if you're listening, I love you. And Marina Verba, the managing director, put this whole thing together with Viola Edwards and the rest of the group. And it's called Quarantina and Beyond. And I have the little cover, if you could see it, maybe.
It's getting kind of glare on it. There we go.
Is that better?
That's better.
Mm-hmm. It's #1 in its group on Amazon right now, and I'm just so proud and so privileged to be a part of all of those women and people that are doing such great things. And all the money is going to charities, every penny of it, for children, for their education, for their nutrition. I mean, like I said, this has been a blessing. Even though it's been a hard year, so many people lost so many people, but there were so many silver linings, that if you really looked, you could find them.
Amen. Amen. Well, I'm going to talk about a silver lining, and that silver lining is my friend Barbara Minkus.
Oh, I can't wait to meet her.
Well, Barbara, she lives in a cul-de-sac. And they were doing these concerts that they were doing on their balconies and everything to entertain the neighbors and everything. And and Barbara is very well known and popular. And she's going to talk about this a little bit more herself. But they were afraid of the number of people that would show up. And so I said, Barbara, why don't you take it to the internet? Why don't you do this? So Barbara started a series. I hope you'll all subscribe to our YouTube channel called About Life. And I'm going to share a clip of Barbara doing, I think this is from the first show that she did. And this message, I chose this because it's where we're headed. We have to focus on the positive. And then we'll bring Barbara on and we'll all get to meet her. And here she is.
Gather round me, everybody. Gather round me while I preach some. Feel the sermon coming on me. The topic will be about living, and if you'll be forgiven. So if you wanna hear my story, settle back and sit tight while I start reviewing the attitude of doing right. You see, you gotta cinch your weight the positive and eliminate the negative. Latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. You gotta spread joy up to the maximum and bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith with pandemonium. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. To illustrate my last remark. Now, honey, do you remember Jonah and the whale? And what about Noah and the ark? Now, what did these fellas do just when everything looked dark? Well, I'll tell you, you gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Oh, no, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Hallelujah.
I love that.
Wait a minute, I'm frozen. Why am I frozen?
Well, keep talking. It'll unfreeze in a moment. You're fine.
Okay.
I hear you.
I'm not used to being green. Okay, well, gosh, I'm sorry, everybody. Hi. Well,
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine, and even if I'm going to be frozen for the whole show, I'm so honored to be here with all of you.
But we can all hear you. You sound great. If you want to leave the room and come back in, that might change things.
If I leave and come back.
Yeah.
You know that I flunked Computer 101. So where do you go to leave?
Leave.
Leave.
I'll tell you what. There you go. She's back. She'll be back. But we're all learning this technology. I've said this before, and I will say it again. We have an appreciation for the tech people out there. Those people, like we've never had before. And Barbara Minkus is back, and she's no longer frozen.
Hey.
Thank you. As I said, I flunked Computer 101.
No, well, you're succeeding today. Happy New Year.
I'm so happy to be here. And listening to all your stories, they're all so inspirational because you've taken from your heritage, and I know you have too, Richard, and you've made life work for you. And what a blessing to give back like that. And Richard, I'm so indebted to you, my friend. I mean, from day one, you have been there for me, and I wouldn't be doing this About Life series of songs and stories from my life if it wasn't for you.
Wow.
So,
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I get out and start doing it. Now I'm getting an echo, Barbara, so you may want to turn your sound down just a little.
Okay. Oh, God. Help me, Lord.
No, we're going to get there.
Accentuate the positive.
We're off to a great new start for the new year. I talked with Dr. Bloom about this earlier, and I'm going to go around and I want to ask, and I'll start with you, Beth, how you approach New Year's Eve, New Year's Day throughout your life, and how what this year has done has impacted the way that you are celebrating today. And I hope that everybody's celebrating. I truly hope that.
For sure. I have always loved going to a big bash. However, I am married to a man for 29 years, and he's very shy, and he is not the bash going dude. So we are absolutely, two different sides of a coin. And so we've kind of split the difference over the years. Going to parties, hosting parties, going to bed at 12:01, stuff like that. And I think the older I got, the more I realized how much he didn't enjoy going. And so, why force him to do that? I mean, I am supposedly in love with this man I've been married to for 30 years, so why do that to him? But I am so happy to say that tonight, and I am waiting with bated breath. But my sister and her husband and two, I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. But they've driven from Chicago, and they've made stops along the way. They stopped in Colorado for a short while, and then they stopped in Palm Springs for a short while. But they have literally driven from Chicago, and they're going to show up here at about 2:30, 3 o'clock my time. So that's just in 90 minutes or so. And so we've ordered crab legs and Dungeness crab, and we're having chocolate fondue, and we're just, I cannot wait to see them. This is the longest I have ever gone without seeing family. And a niece came in for a visit a couple of weeks ago, and we just hugged. We just grabbed each other and hugged and hugged and hugged. And even though we both got tested and we were very careful, and we waited the quarantine time to actually see each other, and masks and everything, but it's I cannot wait to be with my family tonight.
That's great. Yeah. And what about you, Tess?
Usually it's a huge Italian feast of food that you prepare for days. And tonight it's just quiet Chinese food takeout with Freddie, my mom, and I. And I'm just as thrilled as I was if we were going to have the big bash. And Richard, also from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a bright light in my life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And my friend. And Dr. Judi Bloom, what a pleasure to meet you and just be inspired by you and the rest of the ladies here tonight. It's just, this is the way to bring 2021 in.
And all of the people that Richard brings together inspire me constantly. I mean, his amazing, wide-ranging number of friends that he got are remarkable.
Thank you so much. And what about you, Barbara? How do you normally celebrate New Year's Eve? And how
I'm married to the same man that Beth is. Only we've been married 48 years.
Oh, wow.
Last week, 48 years. So,
can I say something for just a moment? I have to say this. When I've talked about this before, I'm a child of 1960s and 70s television. And long before I knew Barbara, Barbara was that woman pulling that brass bed through the streets of Burbank on Love American Style.
Oh my God, really?
And as a matter of fact, she got that brass bed, which I'm sure she'll tell you about. And I've known Barbara and I've known her husband for a long, long time. And, and it's great. All of us, are learning to deal and to ebb and flow. That's what it's all about.
And it's wonderful to be married to someone who's the opposite of you. Talk about ebb and flow, because I always look at life half full rather than half empty. Mm-hmm. He is my bubble bath, and I am his entertainment center. And it works. I mean, I'm so real in all of my life. And my husband is probably the most honest person I've ever met in my life. And when I was making an Expect a Miracle card, which I've been doing since years, what I wanted in life, it's very similar to what you do, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my higher power to find me someone who is honest and has integrity. And I had a blind date while I was doing Love American Style. And there he was, Mr. Honest and Mr. Integrity. And when we met, it was a blind date. He thought that he was going to be meeting the beautiful brunette in Love American Style in the bikini. And so when he called to have the blind date with me, he asked me what I looked like. And of course, in my almost famous voice, I said, "Why don't you watch Love American Style? I'm on every day at 4 and Fridays at 10. And so he said, "Okay, there's a television at the hospital where I work, so I'll watch." So he watches Love American Style. And who does he see? Annette in the bikini. We sat next to each other for 45 minutes at a restaurant. He was waiting for her, and I was waiting for some guy I thought who had black horn rim glasses and white socks and, some square guy. And there was this gorgeous guy next to me. I said, "Oh, no way, Barbara, you're going to meet a guy like him." Hence, that was my husband to be.
That's great.
And we were so embarrassed when we found out that we were waiting for other people that it completely broke the ice of, trying to be, because you had to be real. And that's how I've lived 48 years with this wonderful guy. And he is now my cameraman, even though I fired him.
Wow.
But the price is right, so I rehired him.
That's great. That's great.
What's so fun? What's so fun, Richard, is that I miss meeting people. And through the pandemic, how many new friends have we made? But doing something like this, I now have 4 new friends. And they're
Bring us on.
with you. This is just so fun.
Absolutely. And, plus all the people that are watching, they're friends, and they'll reach out, and it's all wonderful. Dr. Bloom, do you have any thoughts on New Year's Eve or anything that setting goals, intentions that you would like to bring to the table?
Well, my intention in general for the year ahead is just to live the hell out of it, just absolutely enjoy every moment of it as much as humanly possible. And I'm including, given the restrictions that we're under, right? To find ways to just make every day as special and as meaningful and as fulfilling as I possibly can. That's my intention. And to continue to stay in touch with the people who matter to me, and make sure, tonight we're doing a Zoom New Year's Eve I'm on the East Coast, so we're doing it with my West Coast friends, and they're doing it at 7:30 to accommodate, us, so that, they'll do the 9 o'clock ball drop.
I love it.
And it's, there's so much for us to really be appreciative of. And I agree. I think that there's been a lot of silver linings in all of this, and really making people realize what truly matters in their life.
It's funny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, a friend of mine on Facebook the other day, and I'm going to out him right now. I'm not going to mention names, but he did a whole rant about how he hated getting Christmas cards this year, because as he opened the Christmas cards, glitter was falling out all over his desk, all over the floor, and everything. And my thought, without saying anything, because that was his experience, I'm not going to get involved, but is that, how lucky that you got those Christmas cards.
Right.
When there are so many people, and I love glitter. Look, that's not an issue with myself. And I'm sure that in addition to the Christmas cards, all of us have received that traditional Christmas letter that we get in the mail. And I've gotten a few of them this year, and they're very sad letters of how people have looked back over the years. And I begin each month by putting a message on my website. And this morning, God bless you. And this morning I started writing, instead of just the past month, an overall of the year. And of course, I look back in January and February and the performances that I had, all the entertainers here will relate to this, is little did I know that as far as my performing is concerned, that it would only be confined to those 2 months this year. And also the parties that I was still going to at the beginning of January, that we did not know, what the year was going to hold for us. So I want to ask each one of you, and I'll start with you, Barbara, this time, and we'll go in the opposite direction. With everything that you've gone through this year, what has surprised you the most about yourself and getting through all of this?
I think what surprised me the most about myself is that I have developed so much patience. I mean, I've never been a patient person. And it's given me a chance this time just to stop and take a look at what's around me and to appreciate what's around me. And because I lived so many years in New York, it's New York, as you all know, is fast. But to feel home and stay there and to make something out of, I always say, make something out of nothing. I mean, make it work for you. It's given me a lot of patience, and I'm very pleased about that I've stayed centered, and I'm thankful and grateful to God, because I do believe God, that I've been able to enjoy this life and to give to others through my show is just the icing on the cake. But with or without the show, just to enjoy, as Dr. Bloom said, enjoy each day just for today. I'll live through this day only.
Wow.
And it really works.
Absolutely. And Tess?
For me, it was slow down. That fast pace, on the go, every minute, move. I have never been a person that is just slow moving. And like Barbara, I had to learn patience too that I didn't know I had. Even dealing with, my little granddaughter who's now 11 months, it just slowing down, even my mind, my brain, my thoughts. I never had that. I didn't even realize that, people talk about the gerbil wheel. Is that a good explanation, I guess, that they're running on that wheel? And I threw my wheel out. I'm never getting a wheel. I'm going to stay in this mindset and be very, very grateful for, you think you're grateful until you really, right. I'm very grateful to have survived all of this. And that's it. Just have a grateful heart.
Beth, thank you. Thank you.
This is such a real program. It's such a real show. And I love what you were saying, Barbara, about just how real you have to be. And your husband gets you to that place also. And Tess, even what you've gone through, how real it's been experiencing your mom's medical issues right now and how you're confronted with that. And then, of course, we have a doctor on the show, so I can't bullshit my way through this. What I am surprised that I have learned is how off my kind of physical health game I've become. And that is so unlike me because I'm a former dancer. I won't call myself a workoutaholic, but I really am like on top of my game with just my physical workouts and hiking and eating well and all that kind of stuff. And the beginning of the pandemic, I started out really strong and I was doing a lot of Kundalini yoga and lots of juice cleansing and really good, healthy stuff. And I'm not really quite sure what happened when September came around, but I have just been like nonstop eating. And I think so much of it is because I've been powering through work with kind of 80-hour work weeks and stuff like that. And I am so excited for this Monday to come because it's all gone back to normal. Like, I've learned that January 1st is never the magic number. Mondays are. And so that's what I'm so surprised that I have allowed myself to fall off my kind of spiritual path and I've allowed the work brain to kind of take over. And I'm to the point where one of my kids for Hanukkah and for Christmas gave me not one, but 2 different Zen gardens. We split our time between LA and Ojai, and he got me one for each house. Mom, you're off. You got to get down there and do your thing. Go to your Zen den and do your stuff. So it's nice to know that I have my family looking out for me, letting me know when I'm going a little awry.
No.
Yeah.
Dr. Bloom, any comments on any of this?
And you've gotten back on the wagon, right? You said, okay, I gave myself a break for a couple months here, and it's time to get my act together again and be that healthy person I know I am at my heart, right? At my core. And for me, I have tremendous gratitude for what this year has been able to provide for me personally, and working with so many different people who are at various stages of having difficulty with the year that we've been through, and being able to handle that many people. I've never been busier in my entire career, and yet I've found that I can stay truly present with all of those people and really see them making huge strides in spite of all the difficulties that they're going through. And to me, that is so rewarding. I mean, just really rewarding. And personally, to know that I can actually hang in there and do that is a strength that I thought I had, but now I'm glad to see I still do.
Well, as I said at the beginning of the program, I always go into each new year with a lot of enthusiasm and optimism for the possibilities that are ahead. And I'll start with you, Tess, this time around. You've been through this year, as we all have. I'm going to once again quote my friend David Friedman, who says, "We're all in this together. We're just not in the same boat." And I quote him all the time on that. But I want to ask you, as we embark on 2021, do you have enthusiasm or optimism for the new year? And whether your answer is yes or no, where does that come from for you?
Okay. I have tremendous optimism. I am going to love the heck out of my husband, Freddie Love, who I am madly in love with. I'm going to love my kids, my family. And to be honest, for the first time in all my years, I'm not setting any goals, nothing. I'm just going to take whatever God sends my way, and I'm just going to stand there and let it happen. So I'm very, very enthusiastic. And I think, again, where that comes from is this was life-altering. Life-altering. It made me aware of things I wasn't aware of. It made me, again, Dr. Judi, you said it perfectly. That gratitude, up the game in gratitude. I can't even say it anymore. And that's it. Just acceptance and gratitude and love. The most I can give. And I love all you people. Everyone, and I'm so grateful to have been on here today. I mean, I'm probably going to bust.
Me too. I just think it's important that we take this pause as we go into the new year. And what about you, Barbara? Where do you stand on this?
I'm open. I think open is my magic word. And I'm open to listen. It's very important to listen. And I think that this stop in our lives, stop time, has propelled us to realize, that we need to listen to others, and we need to listen to ourselves. I have no idea, before the pandemic, I have no idea what's going to happen. I wrote a one-woman show called 18 Minutes of Fame, and I had 3 jobs to do, and one was in Florida, one in Palm Springs, 2 in Palm Springs, all gone. If I ever do it again, that'll be great. If I don't do it again, I just want to be open and listen and maybe educate myself a little more about life and the people around me. And I love the fact, and I know that you have the same, Tess, I love being a grandmother. I mean, I wish I was a better mother the way I am a better grandmother.
I believe that everyone on the planet feels that way.
My goodness, these kids, just listening to them is the point I'm saying.
I'll tell you, excuse me for going there before we get to Beth, but when I looked at my parents with their grandkids, my nieces and my nephews, and I go, who are you? That's not who, I grew up with everything. So, but that's so true. And what about you, Beth, as far as hope or optimism?
I mean, there's no question. I feel so hopeful, so optimistic, so grateful for so many reasons, not the least of which is hearing from you, Richard. I mean, I remember when we had first moved out here, maybe it was the first 5 years of living out here, but all of a sudden I'm just driving along Wilshire Avenue and the phone rings and it's you. And it's like, hey, what a great connection, and the time that you always take to reach out to other people. And you've done it again here today. I mean, it's an honor and a privilege.
Well, thank you.
To be in your orbit and to be considered a friend of yours. And, and so to cherish all the friendship.
Everyone's going to think that I brought you all on to say these things.
No.
We've never met. We all agree.
That's right. We agree.
Yeah, and so I feel very optimistic and hopeful that those of us who want to take the time to reach out to people that we care about and that we want to listen to and partner with, it will all happen. It just will. Synchronicity is in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important to be open if some people aren't interested in that.
Yep.
Barbara, I love your open and listen. Boom. Thank you for that gift. Beth, thank you for your gifts today.
Well, thank you. But
thank you, Tess. Yeah.
It's all because of what's happened now. It started March. The last thing I remember in March was having lunch with Richard on March 6th.
Sorry,
in New York. And that was the last weekend of shows, Broadway shows that I love. And then I said, God, just lead us. Higher power, good, however you want to say it. Just lead us.
Amen.
Judi?
I'm incredibly optimistic about the year ahead. First of all, the vaccine, which is going to make a huge difference, and I'll be first in line when my turn comes. And a new administration, which I'm very grateful for. I'll feel a whole lot better by January 21st.
Let's all put out a collective positive energy with Monday and Tuesday of this week.
Yes, exactly, for Georgia.
Fighting on a lot.
Absolutely. Putting a lot of faith and hope in Georgia. And, I'm ready to take on whatever the new year brings. I've got this is my special New Year's mask.
Oh, I love it.
Fabulous.
I love it.
Okay.
I've got a good vaccine story real quick.
Yes.
Great.
My husband, who's a doctor, took the vaccine, had the first shot. And he's doing great. You have to have 2 shots of I can't remember, Pfizer. So I said to him, here's the deal. You're going to Trader Joe's now.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
That's good. That's
I'm
good.
free.
Well, I can't believe this. This hour flew for me. And thank you all for being here today. I want to thank everybody who tuned in as well. Dr. Bloom, I want to start and I will give a shout out to Brinkalow from Casting New Lives. When she suggested that you and I do this show, we had no idea what we were stepping into or how it was going to unfold. And I consider us, I can speak for myself, a work in progress. This will continue to evolve. I thank everybody who was tuned in. I think today was our 9th show. We will be back on the 15th of January. We're going to do every other week, so it'll give us each a break. But I want to end the show by going back to something that Beth says, and anyone who knows me knows that this is not lip service. I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. And especially now more than ever, I always say, go to your Facebook page. Tess, I know you're no longer on Facebook. You're a brave woman. Thank you. But go, I mean, the 4th name that pops up in your feed today, or Instagram or email, or whatever, pick up the phone and call that person.
You got it.
Know what they need from you. Not an email, not a text, not a personal message, but an actual phone call.
Very good.
And I also want to say that the one thing that I've learned this year, and then we're going to go around, think about this for just a moment, and I'm going to say this to each of you. Anything that you want to expound upon that we talked about today, that you would like to add to, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or any message that you want to put out to the world at this point, it's going to be your moment to do that. But before we get there, the one thing that I've learned above all else this year is each 24-hour day is all we have right now. We don't have tomorrow yet. We don't have next week. We don't have next month. We don't have next year. And we've all been reminded this year, and I don't want to get morbid, but we've been reminded over and over and over again how precious, like as Dawn Wells, I interviewed her 4 years ago from Gilligan's Island. And yesterday, I went back and I looked at the interview and was listening to it. I did the interview 4 years to the day that she passed away on.
Oh my God.
And we were going to do another interview in January or February. And it's just a reminder that every single day is precious. Do what you can in these 24 hours that you have. Hit the ground running and say, I'm only going to put positivity in the world. I've decided that this is as political as I'm going to get. This administration that we've had for 4 years is now in my rearview mirror. And I'm not going to post about that man. I'm not going to think about that man. I'm not going to talk about that man. As of the 20th, when he's gone, he's gone. Let's look forward and let's put positive energy into what is ahead and what we want in our lives, as opposed to what we don't want in our lives. And now I'm going to go to you, Barbara, and the stage is yours.
Well, I think what you said is very important, that we need to reach out to others and be open to the fact that they may not want to reciprocate, which I've been doing. And I always am reminded of a great man that said to me, it's not about the result, it's about the journey. Mm-hmm. So I always think about that, about letting people be who they are. It's okay if they're not open to renewing a friendship or a connection. And that's very important. And the other thing that is very important that for me is that sometimes when I'm sad or something comes up that really hurts, I have to say to myself, okay, this is what you're really feeling. Now, what do you want to do about it? Mm-hmm. And it's the what you want to do about it that helps. Because many people can stay sad, or feel down about life or the existence of the life that they not being there that they had before. But okay, now what do you want to do about it is the work.
Great. Thank you. Tess?
I would like to get up every day and just show up. Be the best person that I could be. Be kind to everybody that's in my path. And just keep praying that everyone learns to love one another. And just live a simple life. I mean, with simple things. Be grateful to have a meal together. Be, like you said, get on the phone. Call your friend that you haven't talked to in a while. Just start appreciating all those things, more so than being in the hurry of it all. So that's what I think.
And Beth?
Well, I have two thoughts, and one is that I am so grateful to have the opportunity right now to have your audience hear about the story of Would You Hide Me, and encourage people to, it's not just about donating at this phase, it's about engaging in the conversation of Holocaust awareness and joining a force to flatly denounce racism of any kind, whether it's anti-Semitism or anything else. It's just, I feel that together, step by step, we can move the needle a little bit. This is a moment in history that, as John Lewis says, we don't pick the time picks us. And I do believe that right now is a time in history for all of us to make a choice about how to engage with the conversation of racism. But the other thing, my husband was so sweet. He brought this into me when I realized, really what we were talking about in terms of the new year. I have this book. It's called Question and Answer a Day. And there are 365 questions. It's 5 years. I've been doing this journal, answering a question a day, for 5 years. And today is December 31st. And let's see here. And so we're on the 5th year of this book. And the question is, what is your most cherished memory of this year? And I am going to answer it by saying that I had the privilege to be on Richard Skipper's beautiful show, Creativity in the Age of COVID this year. This is like a time capsule moment, I feel, for the 5 of us to really think about how did we get through this year and to really have such a joyful opportunity to hang out and meet new people and carry on into 2021. So I literally am going to be writing that in.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
And Dr. Bloom, you have the final word.
Richard, I am looking forward to a year from today when you and I are going to be able to rename this show Creativity After the Age of COVID.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. And that is my New Year wish for all of us, that we will be past this, ready to take on whatever new challenges life is going to bring, because there are always new challenges, and really just appreciate where we are at any one given moment in time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bloom.
Bye, everyone. And I love you all. Thank you.
Bye, Richard.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.